Joining us now to dive a little bit deeper is pollster and political strategist Frank Luntz. Frank, I know you watched it. I was following your tweets. What were some of your main takeaways?
I was surprised, quite frankly. I want to set the stage for the viewers. She is ahead right now. She's either winning or tied in the key swing states. She's had a small convention bounce because most of it came before the convention, but I was not impressed. As an observer and someone who was expecting more from her with this much time to get prepared. And I want to walk through 8 different points, and I'm going to do it as quickly as I can. First, and I call it DOD, which is day one detail. She gave child tax credits, a housing credit. She should have had something for day one, for the first hour, the first day, the first week, the first month, and the first year. It's the most important thing voters are looking for to see whether you're serious. She really didn't itemize much more than her talking points. Second, it's not inflation, it's affordability. And the fact is, food, fuel, housing, and healthcare has become so much more expensive. She said she understood it, but she didn't give ideas to address it and to solve it. Third, she emphasized repeatedly, my values haven't changed, because she's being accused of being a flip-flopper. It's not values, that's about her. It's priorities, because that's about all of us. Number 4, you deserve. She talked once again as though it was still a convention speech. She did not itemize exactly what the people of the United States deserve in terms of their president, in terms of, in her case, her policies. Number 5, the C word. She talked about consensus and a little bit about common ground. It's really common sense, because voters are not looking for an ideological president. They're looking for someone who can get things done, a real record of results. 6, in her attack of Trump, she should have said, he promised, he failed. It's time to give someone the chance to do a better job. Compare Trump's record rather than shots at him. Number 7, a real record of results, ROR. Because in the end, people look at the Biden administration not as effective as the Trump administration. And number 7, how would you feel if your kids spoke to you the way Donald Trump speaks to America? It's a simple rhetorical question. It's her strongest criticism of Trump. I didn't hear that last night. And finally, in a single word, the word that I'm expecting her to say in the debates, really? Her criticisms, her attacks, really? That one word defines the difference between Harris and Trump. And so I would have graded her a C in her first appearance. She's going to have to do better in the debate.
Okay, there's a lot there. I want to go on something that wasn't addressed, Frank, and I don't, maybe I'm off, maybe nobody cares. We witnessed one of the greatest political stories in American history. President Biden saying, I'm in it to win it, I'm in it to win it, I'm in it to win it, I'm dropping out. No explanation. There was no discussion of that. Do voters care? I thought there'd be a couple of questions of when, she talked about getting a phone call and Biden said, I'm out and you're the nominee and I support you. But I was surprised there wasn't more on the background. Like, who knew what and when? Are you, or is that irrelevant to voters?
Well, she said that her first concern was for him. Come on, let's be candid about this. The president is telling her that he's not going to seek re-election. Let's be candid and let's be honest, because this isn't authentic. If you're the vice president and you're listening to him tell you this, you know the consequences of that. You know you're going to be dead center. You know you're going to get the job of a lifetime. It's being handed to you. And she says she thinks of the president first.
Yeah.
I asked a group of students last night, would any of you, even one of you, have thought of the person who's telling you this rather than the impact it's going to have on you personally? She's had an issue with authenticity going back to the 2019 campaign. And I say this as someone who is not taking sides in this. And Donald Trump has his own issues, and I will address them on Monday. If you guys have me back, I'll go through the same list with him. She needs to be authentic. She needs to be honest. And the questions that were asked of the vice president, why he didn't tell the truth in certain situations, all he did was deflect. He talked about his service. He talked about his record. He did not say, do not look the camera straight in the eyes, I am doing right now to you, and say, I got it wrong and I apologize. And for every child watching
now,
I
think he did say that he misspoke, I think was the term that he used.
How long did he speak? We both watched it.
Well, why was he there?
He gave a long explanation that had nothing to do with what they were charging him with, and a simple, I made a mistake, and I apologize. That apology, they're afraid to do this because they think that they're going to jump all over them. It's going to be lead in the newspaper. If he says to every child watching me now, you have the responsibility to own up to your mistakes, you have the responsibility to apologize, every parent listening would say, that's the guy I want.
But I think, okay, so Frank, I spend a lot of time in Wisconsin, and I was just there for a week and a half. I think I've spent like over a month in Wisconsin this summer, okay? And that's one of the most, if not the most important state for the election. What I hear over and over again from my friends that might lean a little bit left is that they weren't going to vote for Biden. They weren't voting for Trump. They just weren't going to vote because they couldn't. They were the one of the double haters, as they were called. Now they're kind of poking around Harris, saying, you know what, I could vote because, as you well know, and we'll find out how big this is, Frank, there are millions of people for whom this is not a what's this issue, what's that issue. It's I'm going to vote for Harris because she is not Trump and she is not Biden.
I agree. And the issue for Trump is not to make the personal attacks. The issue for him is to focus on policy. Whom do you trust more on affordability? Whom do you trust more on the border? Whom do you trust more to make America safe and secure and address issues of crime? When Trump focuses on the issues, that's his strength. When Harris focuses on personality, that's her strength. And she did some of that, and that she did relatively well. But what's going to happen in this debate is that they're going to see them side by side. And based on last night's performance, Harris is going to come up wanting. I can go through the Trump attributes if you want next week. But in the end, the voters are comparing them. It is not a race in a vacuum. And she did not do what she needed to do to put those concerns to rest. In fact, by focusing on her values rather than our priorities, that's a pretty big communication mistake.